It took me about 5 years to get over aging out of Drum Corps International DCI, and an even longer time to understand why. Because aging out at 21 is supposed to be a good thing, right? You did the thing, you made the memories, and now you're supposed to move on with your life. But for me, it didn't feel like a graduation. It felt like I was being kicked out of the best thing that ever happened to me. If you've never heard of DCI, let me give you a little bit of context. Drum Corps International is essentially the major leagues of the marching arts, and you could only participate until you age out at 21. For more than 50 years, independent drum and bugle corps have brought together college-age performers from around the country, around the world to spend their summers traveling, rehearsing, and competing. The season is roughly 2 months long during the summer. You perform dozens of times, you sleep in high school gyms on air mattresses, you rehearse outside in the heat for hours, you might get 5 hours of sleep, get criticized by your instructors the next morning, and then go do it all over again. It's incredibly difficult, but that's also what makes it so special. And you're doing all of this with people your age from all over the world, working towards one goal: DCI World Championships. And for people who grow up doing marching band and color guard, making a drum corps can feel like making it into the major leagues. And that's exactly how I felt in the summer of 2009, because I just wasn't in any drum corps. I made the Blue Devils. The Blue Devils are from Concord, California. They've historically been the most successful corps in DCI history. They have incredible staff, elite productions, the best performers. And when I made the Blue Devils organization, I really felt like I made it, because I didn't grow up in some marching band program that had unlimited resources. Like, I grew up in Northeast Los Angeles, went to LAUSD, where they don't fund marching band programs, and it was a working class neighborhood. I had to seek this out for myself. I marched in independent color guard that wasn't exactly a powerhouse program, but I kept fighting, I auditioned, and I got my spot. And eventually, I made it to the Blue Devils. So to me, this wasn't just some extracurricular activity. This was the thing I had worked towards for years. It was a thing I had built my identity around. And when I finally got there, I didn't want to do anything else. And then 2011 happened. I turned 21 and I aged out. And I remember thinking, wait, this is it? I wanted to keep performing, but I couldn't because I was too old. And it was such a strange feeling. And then the summer of 2012 came and I wasn't there. The Blue Devils had such a badass show and I was at home in my bed doing nothing. It's hard for me to admit this, but I used to lie in bed for hours that summer because I didn't want to open social media, because I knew what I was going to see. I was going to see my friends on tour, having the time of their lives, traveling around the country, and I wasn't there. I was angry, bitter, jealous. I started even like bargaining with myself. I was just like, man, I should have auditioned in 2008 and then I would have had 4 years instead of 3. But then 2012 passed and I ended up finding another way to stay connected. I ended up teaching the Pacific Crest Color Guard in 2013. And then the year after, I taught the Blue Coats in 2014. So I stayed involved in drum corps, and I thought if I wasn't performing anymore, maybe teaching would give me that same fulfillment. But it didn't, because I realized something that was like really painful. I realized that I didn't really want to teach. I wanted to perform. And look, teaching was really meaningful and really fulfilling, and I learned a lot from it, and I'm really glad I did it. But I didn't want to teach and watch the thing. I wanted to do the thing. I wanted to do what I felt like my purpose was. So after the summer of 2014, I decided not to teach drum corps anymore and decided to get a real job and start working on my career. And I still stayed connected to color guard by teaching high school programs, and I marched myself during the winter guard season, which thank God, because I would have gone insane if I didn't have that, and that was taken away from me altogether as well. And of course, I started posting on my Punk Rock Irving social handles, and that was all great. But look, every DCI summer, it felt like a thorn at my side. because I would still see Blue Devils and I still felt like I had to be there. But obviously, I couldn't. And all I had was just going to the shows and watching someone else live my past dream. And then something amazing happened 4 years after I aged out. The Blue Devils announced that they would be traveling internationally to Europe and were inviting alumni to go and march with them to represent the Blue Devils organization. I didn't even think twice about it. I went, I auditioned, I made it, and that summer I got to be a Blue Devil again in Europe, and it was incredible. I got to perform again, and most importantly, I got to reunite with some of the people that I marched with in years earlier. It felt like a reunion tour. It was like I got to go back to this thing that I had spent years grieving, but this time I was able to experience it without the pressure of trying to prove everything. I was older, I had perspective, and I was just there to enjoy it, and I had the time of my life. And looking back at it, it just felt like the universe was telling me, we know you missed this. I know you weren't ready to say goodbye. So here's a chance to properly say goodbye. Because after that 2015 season with Blue Devils International, I truly felt like the healing process after aging out started within me. And I'm forever grateful to the Blue Devils organization for giving me that opportunity. Because look, for years I was angry that I invested so much of myself into it. But as I've gotten older, I've realized something, that yes, I invested so much into it, but I didn't realize at the time that it gave me so much back. It really gave me everything, the foundation I needed for the rest of my life. It gave me leadership, it gave me discipline, it gave me resilience. It taught me how to work with people. It taught me how to work under pressure. It taught me how to get criticized and come back and fight again. It taught me that I could be tired, uncomfortable, scared, overwhelmed, and still keep going. And that's the thing. I wish I could tell the version of myself who was lying in bed that summer, afraid to open Instagram because he knew that everyone was having the time of their life, that you didn't lose your purpose. You just lost the thing that gave you that purpose in the moment. And those are two very different things, because the kid who fought his way from Northeast Los Angeles into the Blue Devils didn't just disappear when he aged out. The discipline was still there, the resilience, the ambition, the fighting spirit. I just had to find out where else I can put that energy into. And eventually I did. So if you aged out of Drum Corps International recently and are a bit bummed about it, or you're an athlete and you just feel like you lost your purpose, or feel like the one thing you love was taken away from you, I can tell you from personal experience, you have to go through the motion and the pain. Unfortunately, you can be upset, you can be sad, you can be grateful and feel all those things at once. But eventually you'll realize that it didn't take anything from you. It gave you the person that you're taking with you. Thanks, guys.